here in Sag Harbor. I'm here at the windmill. I'm here where in any other year we would probably be 100, 150 people deep, standing huddled around this area. We'd have a table right over here with hot chocolate. We'd have jelly donuts, sufganiyot, ready to go. We may have even, depending on the year, just finished up a party at the temple. So this is in many ways a bittersweet beginning to this Hanukkah, this festival of lights, this Chag Urim, this holiday of light. But at the same time, I'm not going to focus on the things that aren't. As much as I miss all of you, as much as I look forward every year to being able to celebrate with all of you, to hold my daughter Eva and my future scenario in which my family has grown, to bring my son here as well, and for Lou to be able to share this experience. I'm going to miss all of those things this year, but I'm going to focus on something else, which is to say that you really need to look actually at the story of Hanukkah, the story of the Maccabees, the experience of our ancestors that gives us the reason for being here at all. And to remember that while we tend to focus on the holiday at the end results, right, what happens after the victory, after the temple is rededicated, after the oil miraculously lasts 8 days and 8 nights, but we tend to look over the struggle. We tend to look over all of the stuff that led up to that victory and to that success. They were not easy times. The Maccabees themselves struggled in many different ways, as a family, as a community within a community. They were not easy days at all. They had to hold in their hearts the belief that while the current reality was tough, that eventually they would get to a better place, that they would succeed, and that with God's help they would find a way to recreate the world that had been taken from them. And I think it's not hard to see how all of us, especially right now, can be looking to that story as an inspiration. Yes, we're not quite there. We haven't quite gotten to the rededication part. We haven't gotten through the pandemic. But I have a suspicion that by next year, by the time that this holiday comes around again, that we will be together. I may be wrong, but I choose to be optimistic. And I choose to hope that by following guidelines, following rules, taking care of each other, not gathering in the way that we are right now so that we don't risk anybody getting sick, and that if we use a positive outlook, if we keep working to create a better world, that by next year, hopefully we'll be back here again. But in the meanwhile, we did want to make sure that this moment wasn't lost, and that we as a community, both our temple community, our Sag Harbor community, celebrate here proudly next to the Christmas tree right here in Sag Harbor at the windmill. And I want to take a moment really of gratitude, as I try to do every year, which is to thank in particular Nat Agosi and the Agosi family, who single-handedly made this possible many, many years ago and every year since. I know it may seem a simple thing, something that we take for granted, but there was a time where there wasn't a menorah here. There wasn't a menorah in the center of the town in obvious view of everything. And that's really because the Agosi family made it happen. So especially on nights like this, I really think of you, Nat, and of your family, and just appreciate everything that you have done, everything that you continue to do to support and to love this Jewish community of Sag Harbor and this community of Sag Harbor in general, that I know means so much to you. So this holiday, because we can't be all together in person, we thought we would do something a little bit different. So each night of the holiday, I'm going to appear online in your screen, but somewhere else in the village of Sag Harbor. Places of significance, obvious significance to the Jewish community, but some places that are simply parts of our wider community of which we are a part. And with each place to light and bless our Hanukkah candles and to celebrate and to learn a little bit about the places in which we are standing. So the first thing I just want to do is to thank our temple administrator, Eileen Moskowitz, especially for helping me to create all of this, and especially to give me some history to share with you. Before I get to the history of the Wharf where we are standing, I just want to give a little bit of history of Sag Harbor in general for those that don't know. So thank you again, Eileen, for providing this. Sag Harbor, a village of 2 square miles, is rich with history. The earliest inhabitants of this area were the Algonquin Indians, or Native Americans. They called this place Wegwag-Onuk, which was derived from the Algonquin word meaning the land or place at the end of the hill. And believe it or not, while many of us wouldn't associate Sag Harbor with hills, Sag Harbor at that time was made up of many hills, streams, meadows, and swamps. The neighboring villages called this area the Great Meadows. The earliest known record of Sag Harbor is from 1709. However, It only started being populated by English settlers in 1730. By the time the Revolutionary War began, Sag Harbor had built up a thriving coastal and foreign trade. In 1789, when George Washington approved creation of Sag Harbor as a port of entry for the newly formed United States, the village had more square-rigged vessels engaged in commerce than the Port of New York. Some other fun facts from the Sag Harbor Historical Society. Believe it or not, Sag Harbor had the first newspaper printed on Long Island, the first volunteer fire company in New York, and the first commercial port and custom house in the United States. So while we may think of New York and of Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty, for many, many people for a long time, the first thing that they would have seen coming to this country was actually Sag Harbor. And as we know, through many things, you'll learn more about it on the fourth night of Hanukkah when we talk a little bit about the Jewish history of Sag Harbor, that our ancestors were here a very long time ago. Being the oldest Jewish community on Long Island, we have a major part of that story as well, contributions in many, many different ways. And again, why it's so important that we are celebrating here in public and fulfilling the mitzvah of Pirsum Hanes, of publicizing the miracle for all to see. So, as I mentioned, we're standing, as many of you know, here on the edge of Long Wharf, which just this past summer received a remarkable renovation and revitalization. But a little bit of history, which I think is really quite interesting. Since 1771, Long Wharf has been Sag Harbor's hub. It was rebuilt and extended for the whaling trade in 1821. In its heyday, ships were lined up 6 deep, preparing for voyages lasting 6 months to 2 years, and traveling as far as the Pacific. From the wharf to bay and West Water streets, the harbor bustled with businesses serving the trade sailmakers, rope walks, foundries, and coopers. They all disappeared along with the whaling trade or were snuffed out by notorious fires that engulfed downtown Sag Harbor, notably in 1817, 1845, and 1877. Sag Harbor was an international trading port, and in 1789 designated New York State's first point of entry, as we mentioned earlier. Erected by the citizens of Sag Harbor in the year 1966, perhaps not as old as you might have assumed, as a historic memorial to the great whaling industry which is part of our heritage. The original windmill, which you can't see but is just on the other side of this, was erected in 1760. This reconstruction was completed under the auspices of the 1966 Old Whalers Festival and donated to the village of Sag Harbor in 1984. And as I said, this past summer, after many years of hard work to arrange, our entire wharf was recreated and rebuilt and repaved, and is a wonderful place to come and visit during COVID times, and even more so, I imagine, when we are back in a place where we can really be together and celebrate. So again, while I wish you were here with me right now, and I apologize for any background noise that may be blurting me out, I promise you're all here with me in spirit tonight, and I hope that you'll join me each of the 8 nights of Hanukkah as we celebrate in different parts of our wonderful village here. So I welcome you all at home, if you have your Chanukiah and your family with you, to prepare your Chanukiah and be ready to go. Again, just a reminder that what we do, the first night is pretty simple, but remember we always have a shamash, a helper candle. Sometimes it's located in the center, sometimes it's located just out front. The idea is that it's set off from the remainder of the 8 so that you always know which one. In this case, it's mostly ceremonial. We don't need it to actually light the others. But again, because Hebrew is read right to left, we begin with the candle on the furthest right, and each night we'll add another candle. And as we add each candle, we just remember that we light from left to right. We place the candles in from right to left, we light from left to right, just to make things complicated. Now, hopefully those who are members of the temple, you got your song sheets and your prayer sheets at home. Remember, on the first night of Hanukkah, we also add a Shechianu prayer, a prayer that thanks God for just getting us to this moment. It feels like a very appropriate prayer this year. So I invite you to join along at home to sing the blessings and to light the candles. And with that, I certainly wish you all, I think, a holiday certainly of light, but I hope a beginning of a new year and this whole series of days that we have in which we really can focus a little bit inward and to contemplate and to really think about what it is that we can do to change and affect the world. Actually, as I say that, I realize I left out one very, very important piece of our process here. I'm sorry, I got a little ahead of myself with lighting. We'll do that in 1 second. Which is to say that each of the nights of Hanukkah leading into the days of Hanukkah, our wonderful social justice committee led by Andrea Klausner and Alyssa Peak have designed and helped us to create 8 different opportunities of tikkun olam, of social justice work to help to create a better world, quite literally. And I want to thank them and the rest of the Social Justice Committee, and again my partners on my staff, Eileen Moskowitz, our temple administrator, and Shelley Lichtenstein, our Hebrew school director, who have been essential in creating and making it possible for all of these different activities to take place this week. So this first night of Hanukkah, we are doing a toy drive for the Bridgehampton Child Care Center. Again, a toy drive for the Bridgehampton Child Care Center. And you can donate gifts of toys, brand new toys. Again, very important that it is a new toy, not regifting an older toy. And to leave it at the temple, we have a bin located just outside the front door. It's very specific. It's labeled toy drive. So just be really careful to make sure you're putting it in the right box. You can do that anytime between now and the middle of the holiday, December 15th. You can drop it off anytime during normal business hours, 9 to 5. And if you're looking at it, just make sure that you check our website. There's a sign-up genius that allows you to decide which toys to buy and what's purchased and all of that, so we can keep track of it. If you have any questions, you can contact Eileen in the office. But again, this first night of Hanukkah, this first day of Hanukkah going into it, to please purchase a toy donated as a gift that can be given to the children of the Bridgehampton Child Care Center. So again, thank you, Andy and Alyssa, and to our wonderful Social Justice Committee, and to all of you who make our temple the kind of temple that cares, again, about those who are most in need at all times of the year, but certainly at this time of year as well. So again, now we're going to focus on lighting and blessing our candles, so I'll invite you to join with me at home. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu Bayamim hahem ba'azman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'echeyanu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. And now, while the rabbi still has some feeling left in his fingers, let's sing a couple of songs. Again, if you have your song sheet with me, or with you, you can join me on page 2. Ma'oz tzor yeshuati lecha na'eh leshabeach tikon b'hei tefilati v'sham toda nezabeach Le'tachin matbeach mitzar hamenabeach hazegmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah tamizbeach hazegmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah tamizbeach. If you want to go to the last page of your song sheet, Mi Yimalel, the very top of the page. Mi Yimalel Gurot Yisrael Otan Mi Yimene In Mechudor Yakum HaGibor Goel Ha'am. Mi Yimalel Gurot Yisrael Otan Mi Yimene In Mechudor Yakum HaGibor Goel Ha'am. Shema Bayamim hahem bazman hazeh Makabi Moshiach ufodeh Uvyaminu kol am Yisrael Yitached yakum lehigael Yimalel gvurot Yisrael otan mihimenem En mechodor yakum hagibor goel ha'am. And with that, I wish you all a Chag Urim Sameach. May this be a holiday of light, of life, and may it be one in which we all, again, remember, especially this year, what we mean to each other, what community means, why it is so important this year especially to celebrate proudly, to celebrate in the town square, to be part of this community of Sag Harbor and to appreciate with gratitude everything that we really get to experience by living here and being part of this community. And wherever you may be watching this right now, remember that we all have a role to play. We all have responsibilities to each other, and we all must consider that while this time may be hard, as I said, let us hope, let us pray, let us act, so that next year we can be back in this space, that we can celebrate together, that I don't have to be here alone and freezing, or at least freezing alone, I should say. But that's not going to happen by accident. It's going to happen because we all dedicate ourselves. Remember, the word Hanukkah is built off of the word in Hebrew for dedication and rededication. So let us dedicate ourselves to taking care of each other, taking care of our communities, taking care of this country, taking care of the world. May the year that is to come be one of blessing and joy. May the 8 nights of Hanukkah bring nothing but blessing and joy to each and every one of you. And I look forward, I hope, to you tuning in each night of the holiday, as I will be in a different place. Same blessings, different nights, different places, but with the same love and the same gratitude for each and every one of you. So again, Chag Urim Sameach, thank you for being a part of this, and I really look forward to seeing you in one form or the other very soon. Take care. Chag Sameach.